I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, June the 28th, brought to you in part by Bovalus Vision, clostridial vaccines that spur cattle forward, never backward, the proprietary spur adjuvant that boosts vaccine performance while causing fewer reactions and reducing stress on cattle post-vaccination. Also, each bottle that you purchase enters you into a monthly drawing for a custom-made Greeley hat. For more information, go to poweredbyspur.com. Include the hyphens in there. Back on the rocket sled, the cattle market has been thrown here from the higher trends and the higher rally a few times here in the past few weeks. But on Tuesday, the old cattle market threw its leg over that rocket sled on rails and zoomed on a little bit higher. Saw some new records in several different classes of feeder cattle, and I'd like to just go right to your top feeder cattle quotes for the day, which I know a lot of you, that's the main thing you listen for, but I got to kind of go over what else went on. Your board rallied big time on feeder cattle, and it drug live cattle on up quite a bit itself, and that was caused by kind of a surprising plunge in your grains. Your corn was down big. Now they've got rain in the forecast out there. You'd think that the corn could just wait until we saw whether it rained or not before it moved, but no, it can't do that. It doesn't have the ability to wait and see what's going on. Everybody's always trying to get ahead of the game. But with expectations of rain in the forecast in the central and eastern corn belt, it did plunge back, and man, once your feeder cattle took off, of course your algorithms take over, and it zoomed up nearly $5 on your August contract, which it lost a bunch here in the last mini sessions, so it was good to get that market position back. These backgrounders of cattle, these calf buyers that make yearlings out of them, they are making big money right now. Hallelujah. That's great. That's what makes the world go round. I'm glad hearing a lot of guys that bought light calves, got them straightened out, kept them going, didn't make them fat, just grew them and selling them. A lot of those guys are doubling their money on the cattle. And if you start doubling the money on what you paid for your cattle, you can spend quite a bit on inputs, you know, getting them to where they're going. And a lot of those guys have those cattle turned out, or eating something fairly inexpensive and making some big money. And that's great. We're glad to see guys making some money finally for a change here. Your cattle feeders are making money too. Hearing a lot of guys making over $400 a head on fat cattle. A lot of guys not making that much. Some guys may be making more. Some of the guys that aren't talking too much are feeding plainer cattle and making more than that. Those are the cattle that really make money. But they're the hardest to handle too, hardest to straighten up, hardest to get going. Cattle feeders making significantly more money than the packers. But despite the record high prices that we've seen this spring, your packers have never had a red ink week yet. That they're continuing to make money. They launched the box beef cutout values up there. They are kind of fading back a little bit right now, but they've never gone into the red. Of course, cattle feeders live in the red dang near half the time or maybe more. But at this point right now, your cattle feeders making well over twice what your packers are making on the cattle, and of course they're keeping them, you know, 5 months instead of 3 days. So, you know, I think that's only commensurate that they make some pretty good money on these cattle. But this market just took off on Tuesday, expecting it to be good for the rest of the week. Fat cattle market kind of starting off with a limp out of the gates, a stumble. But we'll talk about that here in a second after we talk about your board. June live cattle futures up 160 at 179.30. Of course, they're just about on their last leg there. August, which is what we're going to, up 190 at 172.50, which is a sizable basis there, that's what a lot of your cattle feeders like 170, 250. Your back months on live cattle up 122 to up 205. Excuse me. August feeder cattle up big, up 482 at 238.50. Huge premium to what our cash index levels are right now, but we've gained a lot more ground than that in the last month and a half or so, so you wouldn't be surprised to see it happen. September feeder cattle up 447 at 241.97. That's a big price out there. Back months on feeder cattle up 345 to up 422. December new crop corn down 27.25 cents. Ouch. Just on the hopes of rain, and it's been so spotty around there when they have gotten it. But talked to a lot of guys. I was talking to a friend of mine lives in southern Iowa on Tuesday, and he said by 10 o'clock in the morning that corn has rolled up tight, which if you guys know what that means, whenever it's getting it's dry and it's trying to protect itself, it rolls up there when the heat comes on, rather than soaking up the heat. But with the moisture to boot, which is what causes things to grow. But December corn ended regular trading at $5.61 a bushel. It was up there in the low to mid sixes here not too long ago. November new crop beans down 28.75 cents a bushel at $12.94 the end of regular trading. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September. What happened to it? Been gaining ground right through harvest, and then on Tuesday down 28.75 cents at 839.5. Some talk about some things going on over there in the Ukraine, which that's so topsy-turvy. We don't know what's going on there, but your grain markets have to move on some kind of news, I guess. But talk about the fat cattle trade, which we started to see just a little bit of trade, and then, like I said, it stumbled out of the blocks. Very disappointing. The Northern Plains know what they have, and they know that they're tight on supplies. They're going to hang tough. Iowa only saw confirmed sales of one load of cattle. It was mixed bag cattle at 181, well off the market, so that's not even really worth mentioning. Nebraska, nothing so far this week. But somebody, at least one big cattle feeder in Kansas, got duped into taking $2 less for their fat cattle at 178. I don't know. Tell me why. I don't understand it. Texas, 1,400, and that was 4,200 head at 178 in Kansas. Ouch. Texas had a split of 178 to 179, but just on a few head, only 1,400. Most people in the Southern Plains passing 179 by late morning, and then with the board closing up so much, and then all your other classes of cattle selling so much better, I think that by the time we get the bulk of the trade and we establish the market on fat cattle, it's going to be at least steady if the weak sisters don't keep pulling the plug so quick on these fats, guys. They need them desperately. I don't care if we got a midweek holiday next week. If we would shut the gates this week, we could use that 4th of July for a pick, a maneuvering stick, and you can imagine how hungry your packers would be by midweek next week, knowing that they need to refill their coffers after a good clearance of shelves and supplies during the 4th of July holiday, which it's a long one, so that's going to take up a lot of grilling going all through the weekend and up until the middle of the week. But Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota has our country's best brick and mortar fat cattle auction. They had another good one on Tuesday. 1,300 head in overnight, 2,200 head total. Your conventional cattle, just straight up finished cattle, bring from 182 to 189.50. Now that's still $1 to $4 lower, but it's so much higher than they're selling in a direct in the country. I don't think you can pay so much attention to the trend, but pay attention to the prices, guys. And not just on a few. I mean, a lot of loads of cattle selling way up there near 190 on the conventional cattle. You look at the program cattle, non-implanted, drug-free cattle selling from 185.5 to 197. Steady to $5 lower. But you know, still pretty good fat cattle market there. And you know, had a few deals sell a little bit higher than that, but try to give you a pretty conservative call on that Yankton market report, because we sure don't get anything out of there from USDA Federal State Market News Service, but you get it here on the feeder flash. How about your box beef cutout values? Lower quite a bit on choice on Tuesday afternoon. Choice cuts down 381 at 329.23. Selects down $1.24 at 298.43. Your slaughter just about par, 251,000 so far for the first 2 days of the week. That's 2,000 less than last week. At this time, 1,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. As soon as the fireworks are over, I'm headed up to northeastern Oklahoma to the Coffeyville Stockyards Blue Stem Special, and it is going to be at the Cross Bell Ranch at Copen, Oklahoma. You remember that old historical Mullendore Ranch there? It's a beautiful place, and you're invited to come out. That's where we're going to be holding the video sale for Coffeyville Stockyards big special. They're going to have 20,000 head of green grass yearlings selling in load lots there, live on dvauction.com. You can come though. They've invited people, encouraging people to come out, bring their family. They're going to have steak sandwiches there for free. They're going to have a cash bar. They're going to have a live band on hand. It's going to be a good time there in a beautiful setting at the Cross Bell Ranch for that big Blue Stem video special. And it is going to be on July the 5th. For more information, get a hold of Tylen Layton or Doug King there at Coffeyville Stockyards, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Talk about your feeder cattle market on Tuesday. Your real-time index on DV Auction late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 226.62 based on an 800-pound cash auction steer. That was up another $1.27. It was up big on Monday, up again sizably on Tuesday. This market is on fire, guys, and I'm going to give you a lot of quotes here in just a second. DV Auction has been added to Bassett Livestock Auction, so you can now view and bid Bassett Livestock Auction in Bassett, Nebraska on DV Auction. I'm glad that they've joined up with us, glad to be partners with it. Going to get the opportunity now to talk about them a little, like I haven't already been talking about them a lot, but they've got a big special here today on Wednesday. Fall calf and yearling special, expecting about 9,000 head of cattle, and they'll be the best cattle in the world right there in your sand hills in Nebraska. Starting promptly at 8 o'clock in the morning. No way-ups on this sale. They're just going to sell fancy fall calves and yearlings, and it'll be a humdinger, and I'll give you all the results on our next visit, but don't miss that. And going to be convenient for you there on dvauction.com. Call the sale barn ahead of time. Tell them you want to be approved. You want to get in there and bid on those cattle. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri? 3,300 head there through the ring. Another 250 head on their in-house video they do with help from DV Auction. The market was kind of split. Your calves were lower. Calves $5 lower for the most part. Spots as much as 10 on those peewees, but when they're bringing way up in the high $3 range, it really is not a lot to come down $10 a hundred there. But a lighter test of feeders sold steady to firm, and did have an impressive quote there from West Plains, along with this picture from a good friend, Missouri Market Reporting Supervisor Tony Hancock. Sent me this picture and told me about 111 head of 949-pound steers. Pretty good quality for southern Missouri, 85% black. They bring 209.75. Now let's go straight north to north central Missouri, to Unionville Livestock Market. Kurt and Heather Spore Leader have a great sale there. They had their barbecue special. I've been to the barbecue special at Unionville before. That means there was at least 3 or 4 city blocks of Amish and Mennonite people getting a free steak sandwich there. And I'm glad that they enjoyed it. Most of them don't make their way into the arena, but you just gotta give it to the sport leaders there for treating that small town and all their customers and all the buyers and consigners there for a treat there for their barbecue special. But biggest sale that they've ever had there as long as Kurt Sportleader has had it. And that surprises me a little bit because he has big sales all the time, but they had 3,800 head. That's a sizable sale there for a market of that size there in north central Missouri there in the Green Hills. But it was actually our national beef wire stick out sale of the day. Didn't have a sale last week, so we don't have any trends. But you look at this market there, and I'm going to give you the best tested weights, and just look at how impressive they are. How about 380 head of 5-weight steer calves in Unionville, Missouri? They average 550 pounds at 284.68. 498 head of 6-weight steers average 644 with a weighted average price of 266.81. 414 head of 7-weight steers average 743 pounds, weighted average price 244.93. And 722 head of 8-weight steers in Unionville, Missouri had a weighted average weight of 861 pounds and a weighted average price of $232.72. Look at the heifers. 248 head of 4-weight heifer calves average 461, average 271.15. 324 head of 5-weight heifers average 558 pounds, weighted average price 244.69. And 195 head of 6-weight heifers average 628 pounds, weighted average price 242.11. A lot of times out of Unionville, I'll feature the Rock and R steers there, backgrounders out of Lucerne, Missouri there. They do such a good job, and that's what you guys need to do. If you're backgrounding yearlings, you need to find an auction market home that you're comfortable in, stick with them, and establish a reputation. It sure helps sell those cattle, especially if you're going to be selling them on a regular basis. Treat those cattle the same. Leave a little bit on the bone for the next buyer, for the cattle feeder. You don't want to grow those cattle, but don't flesh them up too much because then they don't perform for them. But Rock and R had 8 loads of yearlings in there, be backgrounded yearlings, but they do such a good job with them. The buyers want those cattle. The Rock and R cattle of late have been kind of nicknamed and deservedly as Smoking R because they sell so well. But Rock and R steers out of Unionville on Tuesday, they had 8 loads of them, 480 head. The loads averaged 891 pounds with an average price on those loads of $230.14. That check scared the hell out of $1 million, guys. Congratulations to Rock and R. Give you some more individual quotes from all around. How about Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, right there on the eastern edge of no man's land? 54 steers weighed 729, bring $2.50 a pound. Thought that was pretty good. How about Kingsville Livestock Auction, West Central Missouri's foremost sale there. The Anstein family there, they've been doing a good job there for a long, long time. But Kingsville Livestock Auction, Steve Varner does a similar thing with his cattle. He backgrounds them, typically sells them there at Kingsville. Steve Varner is a really nice guy, a friend of mine, and he's a good test of the market. On Tuesday, he sold 120 steers, weighed 800 pounds smooth, and bring $242.50 at Kingsville Livestock Auction. About a month and a half ago, he had similar cattle in there, about the similar size run. They weighed a little bit more, weighed nearly 8 1/4, and bring $209.35. Can we believe how much ground we picked up, guys, here just in the last 6 weeks or so? But congratulations to Steve there. I'm glad he's getting along and making good money on those cattle. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Fredonia Livestock Auction. My buddy Brad Hahn there from the Hahn Ranch in Fall River, Kansas. He had 5,000 head, including a good run through the ring and then his in-house video there, and then sold a lot of his own personal cattle. I mean, had a really great day for him and his family there, the Hahns. But I saw several impressive quotes out of there. Blaine Lotz was the auctioneer, world champion. He was sharing several of the lots with me. But the ones that I found most impressive, there was 800 head of spayed heifers off the Hahn Ranch. About half of them sold through the ring, and about half of them sold on the in-house video just up the road from Fall River. But 800 head of them averaged 811 pounds with an average price of $232 on spayed heifers. Now they'll feed similar to steers, but not quite as good as steers, guys. But those cattle were professionally purchased both times by my friend Kenny Danzer. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.